Hi ladies, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you ladies about job interviews, tips and advice that have helped me. And if you're currently right now seeking a job or looking for a job or going through interviews and you think, how can I better myself for these interviews? Stick around, I got a few tips that can help you out. So if you are new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Giselle and my channel is all about faith, encouragement, motivation, lifestyle. And like I mentioned, I want to bring tips to you ladies today on how to improve your interview skills. So if you have seen my day in the life vlog that I recently posted, you might know that I'm currently going through some interviews, and although I have been in many interviews in the past, for some reason, when I do still sit in an interview, I get nervous, I get anxious, the whole 9 yards, okay? With time, I have gotten more comfortable with interviewing. Last year, I had a decent amount of interviews that led up to maybe 3 or 4 interviews within a specific role. And of course, it was always like, you know, Giselle or the other person, and of course the other person would get it because they would have more experience or whatever the case may be. And honestly, I felt proud of myself that I had made it that far into interviews. And I want to be able to share some things that have helped me just get more confidence in interviews and not be so hard on myself after interviews, which I need to work on, because now that I'm going through interviews again, I'm just like so hard on myself. But we can't do that, ladies. We cannot be hard on ourselves. The number one tip that I can give you is get to know your target. So if you're applying for a specific company, make sure you do a little bit of research on that company. When you're getting interviewed, management or whoever is interviewing loves nothing more than having a person in front of them who knows what the company's about, the morals that the company has, the ethics, their goal, their vision. Get to know some of these things. A lot of the times, to be honest, if you read the description that you're applying for, it talks about the company. One, it gives you a description of the job role and the roles and responsibilities that this job role requires. So my suggestion is read the descriptions. It gives you so much information of the vision of the company, what they're looking for. So might want to look into that and study that particular job description that you are applying for, because it has so many details to what your interview is going to look like. Another tip is dress the part. Sometimes, you know, I remember when I applied for the firm that I'm currently working for, I dressed like I was gonna be like an ED/MD role, okay? I was like, I'm gonna be an executive director and I'm going in there looking like one too. But that wasn't the role that I applied for. I was literally applying for an entry role. But when you dress the part, it's not just showing confidence in yourself, it's also showing that you are well put together. And when you feel well put together, ladies, I know that when we all get dressed up, dolled up, we feel good, we feel some type of way, right? So if you dress the part, if you dress up yourself and you feel good in what you're wearing, you're gonna perform so much better in your interview. If you wear just something very simple and you feel like it's uncomfortable and you just feel like, you know, like this collar, you're gonna be able, that's gonna reflect in your interview, and they notice that. So wear something comfortable, but that is professional attire as well, that you look nice in, you feel comfortable in it, you look good in it, and that will reflect and that will help you throughout your interview. Another tip is always arrive early. One of my biggest things is wasting someone's time, and I have come to interviews in which they are late and I'm just like, really, I'm here on time. But when you are on time, it shows that you are responsible, that it gives good impressions to the interviewer when you're on time. I remember one of my interviews, I literally got there maybe 20 minutes, 15 minutes before time, and you had to pass security guard and the security's like, your interview is not until this time. I'm like, well, yeah, well, I'm early. They ended up calling the manager, and the manager was like, oh, well, go ahead, let her in. And when I got to the room to interview, she was like, you came super early. I was not expecting you to be this early. And I was just like, well, you know, I just wanted to make sure I had enough time to get here and to get a good parking spot, and, you know, just start a conversation with her. I already knew her. thank God. But you know, she was so impressed that I did show up on time because I cared about her time as well as mine. And when you show up early to an interview, it gives you time to just kind of like sit down, relax, read your notes, look through your resume, or look through the job description one more time. It kind of gives you that prep time to not being in the hassle of traffic getting there, or even when you're on Zoom. Nowadays, we are interviewing through Zoom. You know, when you're interviewing through Zoom, my biggest advice is be ready 15 minutes before the interview. I literally sit in front of my iPad 15 minutes. I have my Zoom set up so all I have to do is click, you know, okay for it to log me into the room. But I'm literally sitting there 10-15 minutes before that and just going through my notes, going through my resume, going through the job description, so that for when the Zoom meeting starts, I'm more calm, collected, not hyperventilating because I'm nervous. So that might help as well. Another tip is make a good impression. So this is from when you first meet them. A nice, strong, firmly handshake, not too rough, not too, you know, but enough that they notice and acknowledge that you're there. Being courteous, you know, having a small talk. If you have to walk to an office space, just start small talk. Oh my God, the weather's so wonderful today, you know, or how's your day going so far? Start that small conversation with them. It kind of just eases the, you know, the tension and the nervousness that that person might have or that you may have. Make a good impression. Also, when you're interviewing, make a lot of eye contact. As a manager interviewing me and they can't make eye contact with me, it kind of like sets the tone for me. And it's so hard now with Zoom. With Zoom, it could be a little bit more difficult because sometimes they're looking at the camera and they're not really looking at you per se. So that's like a, you know, a iffy one. But when you are in person, have that eye connection with that person. Don't just be like, you know, but have a good eye connection with them. And I remember specifically one interview that I had. It was with two gentlemen, and one was this like laid back like manager, chillant, whatever. The other one was a little bit more uptight. He always walked around the hallways a little bit more uptight. And the whole interview, I was shocked that he did not look at me in the eyes, not once. He would ask me a question and he would be like, so if you can do something, what would you do? Not that he asked me that, but he would not look at me. And the other one, who was like laid back, chilling, like, you know, it's just another conversation, was just eye contact with me the whole time. So that to me set off the impression. I was like, you know what, I'd rather work with this person, even though he's laid back and just like chalant. But I thought he would be more of a better manager, but he didn't even make eye contact with me. So as a manager, when you're in an interview, you have to realize you're interviewing them too. You know, they're not just interviewing them for their position, but you have to keep in mind, I'm interviewing these people as well. Am I compatible to work with these people? Are we gonna be a good fit to work with each other? And you have to notice all those things, and you have to take all those things into consideration. Is it something that I wanna work with? Is it someone that I want to work with? So just be mindful of those things. Another tip that I can give you is know yourself and be yourself. Knowing yourself, knowing your accomplishments, knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses, what you're working on, what you are striving for, what your goals are. Know those things before you go into this interview, because a lot of the times they're gonna ask you these questions. What do you see yourself doing in 5 years from now? Or in the short term, within a year, what do you see yourself doing? So know that stuff. Know that stuff about yourself, what you wanna do, what you wanna be. I wanna be this when I grow up, you know, like know those things. Know yourself in that sense and be yourself. There is nothing more pleasing than when you're yourself. I've noticed that the people that I can be myself with are the ones that I have a good interview with. If I see that the manager is more of a relaxed type of manager, that kind of relaxes me a little bit, and it allows me to be more myself. And I know that it's hard to be yourself in an interview. You don't want to be this crazy person, right? No, but be yourself. Be your authentic self. There is no need to hide who you are or the accomplishments that you've done. You know, one thing that I know for sure is interviewers can spot out actors real quick. And when I'm telling you real quick, real quick. So be yourself. If you don't know something, don't act like you know it. Just say, I'm not too sure what you're referring to, but is this something that you may be referring to? Connect it with something that you may know. So just relax, let your personality shine through. Don't put up a front of this is me, and then when they hire you, you're like, well, in the interview you told me that you were this, and then you're not, you know? So just be calm, be relaxed, be yourself, smile, you know, laugh, whatever it is that could make them see who you are. If they notice that you're not being yourself, it's gonna make it hard to trust you. And we don't like people we don't trust, right? If we can't trust somebody, we don't want to be around them. So you want to be likable, you want to be able to show them that you're proud of your accomplishments, you're proud of your skills. So just let all that just shine through your interview. And this I can relate to a lot because I had to interview a specific person for a job. My manager interviewed them, and then it was my turn to interview them. And when I interviewed her, I was like, he was like in love with her. He's like, oh my God, I love her. She has customer service experience and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, okay, you know, let me see, you know. So I interviewed her right after he did, and I was asking her very serious, like I was a very serious person at the time. But as I was interviewing her, I knew she was just like saying nonsense, and I was just like, oh my God, she's like lying right through her teeth. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting, that's really good point. And by the time the interview was done, my manager at the time, of course, loved her. So he's like, oh my God, we should definitely pick her. And I'm like, I don't like her. You know, I don't want her on my team. He's like, well, why not? And I'm like, well, this and this and that. And he's like, well, I don't think so. I don't know. She'll be perfect. They hired her. And a couple months later, she's like, you know that I like literally lied throughout the whole interview. And I'm like, I know you did. And she just showed me her true colors. And I was just like, oh my God, like when you feel that intuition, girl, do not let it go. But that's besides the point. But I knew right there and then that it was a fake act, and I couldn't convince my manager that it was a fake act. But how long did she last in the job? Not too long. So keep that in mind, just be yourself. Another tip is practice. And with that, answering honestly and well. And with this practicing, you can probably Google some questions, some interviewer questions that they might have. I know one of the most popular ones is tell me about yourself, okay? That one's a big one. That's always asked at the beginning of the interview. Another popular one is, why are you looking to seek opportunity elsewhere? Or why are you looking into our firm to seek opportunities? Tell me your strengths and tell me your weaknesses. What else? Why do you want to leave your current team? That's another popular one too. Or what is it about this role that made you apply for it? What about this role sparked your interest in going for it? These are the type of questions that you're gonna get asked, so you wanna practice those and you wanna be honest about them. For me, it's been hard to practice because I literally get asked by a recruiter, like, what time works for you? And then within 2 days, I'll have an interview. That doesn't give me a lot of time to practice. But I do take the time to review my job description, to review all of it, okay? When I'm talking about I reread that description left and right, back and forth, I reread it to make sure that I'm understanding what I have applied for, because the last thing you need to do is apply for a job that you have no idea what you're applying for and you're like, oh wait, that's part of the role. So make sure that you're reading everything in the job descriptions and the job and the roles and responsibilities. Practice with someone that can ask you questions, or just even yourself. Now that you know what some questions might be like, tell me about yourself. Practice what you would say about yourself. A lot of the times it's mostly professional. So when they're asking you, tell me about yourself, you want to start with your most current role and work your way down to the last role that might be on your resume. So in my current role, I am currently this position. I, work on this. These are my main responsibilities. And prior to that, I was in this team. This was my role. This was what I did as well in that. So work that way as well. Just practice and make sure you're answering honestly and well. You want to make sure that they are able to trust you. And another tip, right at the end of your interview, if they ask, do you have any questions? Please, 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 please say you do. There is nothing more of a turnoff than when you don't have questions, because then it shows they might not be interested in the role then. Or, if she's not asking questions, how is it going to be when she actually takes the role on? Is she going to ask questions to try to understand the work? Things like that can come up in the interviewer's mind. So you always want to ask questions. And I'm going to try to link down below a YouTuber that I constantly go to at all times because I love her when it comes to interviews. And it's Cass Thompson's Career Advice. I'm going to try to link her down below. And if you're interested, go check her out. She is amazing. When I'm telling you, I have gone to her videos every single time I have an interview because she has such great tips and advice. And I have used majority of her tips, okay, on my interviews, and I've done extremely well in some interviews. Some managers even reached out back to me and say, hey, we didn't pick you, but you did a phenomenal job at interviewing. You did so well. And that makes me feel good, even though I didn't get the job, but it makes me feel good that they at least acknowledge the fact that I interviewed well. And again, it's with practice, right? So I'm gonna link her down below. She has a lot of videos, as in what to say, what not to say, how to answer something, the questions that I'm referring to right now, what questions to ask at the end if you have no idea what to ask. She has a lot of videos on questions that you can ask at the end of an interview. So for example, one of the questions that I've asked in interviews that I've also gotten from her is, what is the cultural like in the team or in the firm or in the company? Because if you're new to the company, you want to know what the cultural is. Do you guys practice diversity and inclusion? Questions like that, those are going to spark, those are going to kind of wake up the interviewer like, okay. Other questions might be like, what do you see this person doing within the first 90 days of them coming into the team? We know that training is involved. What else are you looking for in this person to accomplish in the first 90 days? Questions like this that are very articulated, very well put together, will bring back an interest to you, because they're going to be like, wow, well, this person can really communicate and get questions out the way. You want to ask as many questions at the end as you can within the time frame, of course, that you have, but you never ever want to leave an interview with no questions, okay? Keep that in mind. Always have questions. And my last tip that I can give you, ladies, is follow up. If you have a form of following up with them, for example, myself, I am applying internally in the company that I work for. I follow up with my recruiter. I also send a thank you email to the interviewers. So if I have a panel of interviewers or just one person, I make sure to send them an email saying thank you for your time, thank you for meeting with me today, or thank you for interviewing me today. I also, in that email, include the opportunities that I may have. So for example, I might not have too much experience in something, right? Or they're looking for a certain experience in something. I'll say, I know that there is area of improvement in such category or such area. I will continue to work on that or get training around that. Let them know that you were listening to what they were saying as well, and let them know how excited you are about the opportunities of being on their team if that is a fit for you. So yeah, so these are just a few tips that I have, you know, grown to just practice and evolve in, because it takes a lot to interview, okay? A lot of the times we get nervous, a lot of the times we don't know what to say, we just freeze. But I've gotten comfortable with sitting down with someone and just having that conversation with. It's funny because my husband's like, you interview so well. And I'm like, yeah, but half the time I'm sweating. I'm having like an anxiety attack internally. But when you practice all the time with someone who can help you, or just in general, you have a couple of interviews, you get more comfortable with, you know, talking, and you become confident because now you're starting to know how to answer certain questions. So I hope that this video was helpful to you. If you are currently seeking opportunities or seeking to get a job or going through job interviews, I pray blessings upon your life, and I pray that the Lord opens doors in your favor. Just remember, be your authentic self, be relaxed, be calm, and know that God is by your side, and if it's meant to be, is meant to be. If you like content like this, if you found this video helpful, let me know down below. Give this video a thumbs up. If you have other tips or advice that might help someone else out or help me out, let me know as well. I just want to be able to build a community where women can come, be comfortable, get encouraged, get motivated, and ladies, we got this, okay? We got this. If you have not yet joined my YouTube fam, hit that subscribe button down below, hit the notification bell for upcoming videos. I hope that you all have a blessed evening, morning, afternoon, weekend, whenever you're watching this. And yeah, so take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.